Rick Ross completely tricked Big Meech. People are calling it a huge scam that involved $120 million. Now, the rapper 50 Cent is making fun of the whole situation online. But here's the really crazy part. According to the story, everyone in their circle and around their neighborhood could see that this trick was about to happen. They all saw the warning signs coming from a mile away. The only person who did not see it coming was Big Meech himself. Rick Ross came to Meech and acted very charming. He offered him all these exciting deals to make movies and start huge projects. He made big promises about fame and Hollywood, making it all sound like an amazing opportunity. These offers were like bait used to catch a fish. Then, as soon as the attention died down and people stopped taking pictures, Ross was gone. He left Big Meech and his son completely alone with nothing. They were left looking like they had no money and were forgotten. Meanwhile, Rick Ross just went back to his normal life of being extremely rich, living in his huge, expensive mansions.
I feel bad for Lil Meech. I don't feel bad for no grown man on this planet. Like, I'm a grown man. Why the f I gotta feel bad for another grown man? Like, you a grown man too. What you asking for my sympathy for? You be alright.
People who know the streets and the music business said they knew this was going to happen a long time before the news stories came out. When Big Meech was released from prison in October, his fans were expecting a real success story. They thought the famous legend was coming back to take his place at the top. Everyone had high hopes that Meech would make big and important business deals. They believed he would change his reputation from the streets into a real and legal business empire. But then, suddenly, Rick Ross came into the picture. He was talking in a very big way and making even bigger promises. He was talking about a huge movie deal worth $120 million, along with other massive projects. He promised a whole new level of money and success. On the surface, it looked like Meech was finally going to get the rewards from his own famous name. It seemed he was ready to finally make money from the legacy he worked so hard to build. But when all the excitement died down, the real truth was disappointing. None of the things that were promised actually happened. The huge empire that Rick Ross talked about turned out to be completely fake. Rick Ross did not come through with anything he said. There were no big projects, no payments of money, and he did not follow through on any of his promises. Instead, he just used Big Meech's famous name like it was a prop in his own show. He did it to show off and to help him in his long-running competition and argument with the rapper 50 Cent.
Now, a guy, I don't think there's a bad guy.
No, yes it is. Fuck that, Vlad. Let's talk about it.
I think Meech is the one that made a mistake.
No.
No? You think 50?
No.
Lil Meech?
No.
Who am I forgetting now?
Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what that would lead to. And if he was a real friend to Meech...
People on the street and in the music world figured out what was happening very quickly. They were not tricked at all. And from the very first day, they said that Rick Ross was just doing this to get attention and make himself look more famous. Everyone in the industry already knew who was actually doing the real work to help Big Meech's family, and that person was 50 Cent. He was the one providing the money for the BMF television series. He was also the one who paid for Lil Meech's acting classes and helped create opportunities that made him a real, successful actor. At the same time, Rick Ross did not bring anything real to the table. He only brought news stories and excitement that had nothing to back it up. He used the situation to make his own image look better without giving anything of value in return. Even so, Big Meech chose to get closer to Rick Ross. He ignored 50 Cent, who was the one person who had actually been working to keep his family's story and reputation alive. This choice caused a lot of arguments and stress behind the scenes. A man named Tony Yo even said it very clearly. He said that 50 Cent had been supporting and helping Lil Meech from the start. He said there was no hidden trick or special treatment, just real support. Now, the news going around is that Big Meech is starting to feel stressed and worried. He is becoming more and more upset. His money is starting to run out, and he is being forced to face the hard truth of the situation. The truth is that Rick Ross never teamed up with him because of friendship or loyalty. He only did it to take a shot at 50 Cent and to cause drama. Because of all this, Big Meech no longer looks like a powerful king in charge of his own life. Instead, he looks like a pawn or a small game piece being used in someone else's personal argument. And that is the moment when 50 Cent decided he was not going to just watch quietly anymore. He decided it was time to get involved and completely change the story. 50 Cent had officially gotten tired of staying silent. He fired back in his classic style of making fun of people online. He claimed that Rick Ross told Lil Meech to give him his father's home address, but not for a big important reason. He said it was just so that Ross could have some Wingstop chicken wings delivered to him.
I wasn't going to address this because I'm not trying to let nobody trick me off the streets. But I never folded, never told, never will. Death before dishonor, always with me. So I'm doing this for my loved ones and the support of my friends and
But
family.
50 Cent's joke about the chicken wings wasn't just meant to be funny. It was packed with a deeper message. He was telling everyone that Rick Ross wasn't helping Big Meech's family in any real way. Instead, Ross was just offering them small, worthless things while pretending it was a sign of his loyalty. The joke was powerful because everyone could see the truth in it. Then, 50 Cent started to share even more personal and shocking information. He made serious claims about Lil Meech having problems behind the scenes. 50 Cent said that he himself had to personally get involved to help. He claimed he had to send Lil Meech to a rehab center because he showed up to work on the TV set under the influence. He said that Meech had thrown up during weapons training for the show and that he couldn't stay focused while they were filming. Next, 50 Cent brought up the famous story about the whippets that were found in Lil Meech's truck. These were small metal canisters of nitrous oxide, which is linked to irresponsible behavior. 50 Cent joked that he had to look up on the internet what whippets even were. He was laughing at how ridiculous the situation was, but he was also making a serious point. He was presenting himself as the responsible adult who had to keep the whole television production from falling apart while other people were losing control. Through all of these stories, 50 Cent made himself look like the protector, the one person who was desperately trying to hold Lil Meech's career together. In his view, while he was doing all this hard work, Rick Ross and Big Meech were being careless and were damaging their own reputations in the real world. Yet, even after all of the support from 50 Cent, Lil Meech still decided to be on Rick Ross's side. People saw him going out to parties with Ross at clubs, smiling and taking pictures. Now, people in the streets and online are making fun of what is left of the once famous and powerful BMF image. The partnership with Rick Ross, which was built on nothing but big talk and pride, fell apart much faster than anyone thought it would. And then, the actor Michael Rainey Jr. from the show Power got involved, and the situation changed again. He spoke very directly, and said that he did not feel sorry for either Lil Meech or Big Meech. He explained that, in his opinion, they are all grown men, and they should have been smart enough to see this whole bad situation coming from a mile away.
Ricky Rose, the time has come. Meech home. February 13th, get your tickets right now. It's going down. We know Florida gonna be there. Miami gonna be there. The legend himself gonna be in the building, making history. Meech, who else coming?
The whole nation, Detroit, St. Louis, California, everybody. Atlanta, Georgia, ATL, stand up.
Woo. We're gonna make history. Get your tickets right.
That video clip of Michael Rainey Jr. speaking out spread across the internet very quickly, like a fire spreading through dry grass. When 50 Cent saw what Rainey had said, he completely agreed and supported him even more. He stood strongly behind Rainey's message, adding to the idea that Big Meech and his team were appearing weak and easily tricked. 50 Cent did not take back anything he had said. Instead, he confirmed it, making the whole problem seem like just another example of the Meech team being loyal to the wrong people and making bad choices. And to be honest, the story of Rick Ross leaving people in a bad situation is not a new thing for him. People say that this is something he has done in the past. According to some sources, there was one time when Rick Ross and his group of friends got into a fight in Canada. The story claims that Ross let the other members of his own team get attacked, while he himself slipped away and left them there. Then, he only came back later, saying that the whole incident had just been a test to see how strong his friends were. This action was seen as very cold, planned out, and it fits perfectly with the picture many people have of his character. According to people who know the music industry, leaving people stranded like that is just Rick Ross's signature move.
I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film. Which director? Shout out to my homie F. Gary Gray, Antoine Foucault, what's up? Tarantino. It's a lot of legends. This is gonna be big. I can feel it. I'm just talking.
Another music figure named Wack 100 also spoke up, calling Rick Ross the real bad guy in the situation. He said that Ross was never a true friend or supporter of Big Meech. Instead, he said Ross was just a person who manipulates others, and he was using Big Meech's famous name like a game piece to attack 50 Cent. Wack 100 did not use soft language. He explained that if Rick Ross really wanted to build a real business with Meech, he would have done the work quietly. He would have kept their plans private and built something solid without telling the whole world. But that is not what Ross did. Instead, he made sure everyone knew about it to get himself into the news. He made everything about himself, the business deals, the public attention, and the spotlight. He showed off his connection with Big Meech just to make himself look more important and famous. That single fact, according to Wack 100, tells you the whole story. Rick Ross was not in this partnership to help Big Meech. He was only in it to help himself. Wack 100 suggested that Ross had this plan figured out long before anything started. He pumped up Big Meech with big promises about making a lot of money and building a huge business empire. But while he was making these promises, the only empire that was actually getting bigger was Rick Ross's own fame. At the same time, Rick Ross was quietly convincing Big Meech to turn against 50 Cent. This is the same 50 Cent who had actually been the one to help rebuild the career of Big Meech's son, Lil Meech. And when the whole plan was over and all the excitement died down, there was nothing real left behind for Big Meech. All that remained were the promises that were never kept and news stories that meant nothing.
50, who own your masters? Who own your masters? I buy your masters. You better shut up. I will buy your master.
You know, but when you take Lil Meech and you put him in acting school, you know, you take him from Detroit. I remember him rapping when he was rapping and nobody was helping him from what I seen. Because I remember when Lil Meech was rapping.
Rick Ross suddenly stopped talking to Big Meech. He cut off all communication and left Meech alone just as all the public excitement around them was starting to disappear. It suddenly became very clear what was happening. The truth was that Rick Ross only supports things that make him money, and Big Meech was no longer useful to his plans. There were even rumors starting to spread that Rick Ross was the real reason why Meech's Welcome Home celebration event was canceled. Many fans had originally thought that 50 Cent was the one who had ruined the event. But people on the inside say the real story was much worse. They claim that Ross did not want Meech to have a successful return to the public or to build up his power again. Instead, Ross wanted Meech to be pushed to the side, to be stuck in the background while Ross got to act like a public hero on the internet. Many people believe this was the biggest betrayal of all. They see it as a carefully planned move where Ross was willing to damage another man's life story just to get more fame for himself, instead of helping to make that man's legend even greater. And Big Meech had walked right into this situation. It got to the point where people on the street and in his own community stopped supporting him as strongly as they used to. Then, things became even worse when Meech tried to fight back with words. He called 50 Cent an internet gangster, saying that 50 Cent was hiding behind his phone and just trying to get famous by making fun of people online. But no one believed what Meech was saying. The street community saw his response for what it really was, an attempt to control the damage and make himself look better after a major loss. It was that simple. By that time, it was too late. The jokes about him were already everywhere online. The funny pictures, known as memes, and all the critical comments painted a picture of Big Meech as someone who had been completely outsmarted and defeated. And if you take a deeper look into Rick Ross's past, you can see a very clear pattern of behavior. He has a long history of forming friendships and partnerships based on what helps him the most. These partnerships always seem to end the same way, with someone else getting hurt and paying the price for it.
Is there anything about Ross and his career that you have any respect for? No, there's nothing there. I never wanted to work with him.
If you take a close look at Rick Ross's history in the music business, you start to see a very clear and repeating pattern. This pattern is based on him looking for chances to benefit himself, not on him being a loyal friend. Almost every big partnership he has ever made in hip-hop music has ended in the exact same way. It always ends with chaos, confusion, and the other person ending up with a bad deal. For instance, you can look at the list of artists who were signed to his record label, Maybach Music Group, or MMG. Rappers like Whale, Meek Mill, and Gunplay were all once part of his team. But as time went on, each one of them started to speak out about their problems. They talked about being unhappy with their contracts, about not getting money they were owed, and about big promises that were never actually kept. In public, Rick Ross would often act very supportive of these artists. But the stories that came from behind the scenes described a completely different situation. Those stories described a pattern of Ross needing to be in control, of his ego getting in the way, and of him manipulating people to get what he wanted.
Guy, I don't think there's a bad guy.
No, yes it is. That Vlad, let's talk about it.
I think Meech is the one that made a mistake.
No.
No? You think 50?
No.
Lil Meech.
No.
Who am I forgetting now?
Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what that would lead to. And if he was a real friend to Meech, unless he was looking to get 50 out the way, he would have dealt with Meech in the shadows, because he knows me and this dude who is gonna react if he sees me dealing with this dude that he has business with. And there was a lot of business left to be done, right? Rick Ross, bro, could have done whatever he was gonna do in the shadows if he really honored and respected Meech. Trust me, Meech wished none of this was going on.
Even Meek Mill, who was once thought to be Rick Ross's most trusted partner, slowly stepped away from him. He did this after he realized that the business empire was not designed for everyone to be successful and make money together. It now seems that this exact same situation has happened again, this time with Big Meech. The huge $120 million project that Ross talked about so much turned out to be completely fake, just an illusion. But Ross still got what he wanted, which was another wave of attention and fame. People in the hip-hop community have also noticed a pattern. They see that every time Rick Ross's name starts to become less famous, he finds a new person to team up with. He always finds someone who is still respected and has a strong reputation in the street culture. At the same time, 50 Cent has been doing the complete opposite. He has been taking real-life stories and turning them into extremely successful television shows that are worth billions of dollars. This is the major difference between the two men. Ross is constantly trying to feel important by getting into public arguments and drama. Meanwhile, 50 Cent is building actual business empires by using smart plans and strategies. People on the streets see this difference, the fans see it, and even people who work inside the music business are starting to say it out loud. They joke that Rick Ross might be playing a simple game like checkers, while 50 Cent is out there playing a much more complicated and strategic game like chess. This leaves everyone with one big question. How many more people will Rick Ross bring into his circle before they also figure out what his game really is? Because if his past actions have shown us anything, it is that every person who stands next to him eventually learns the same hard lesson. His loyalty to them is only temporary and does not last, but his desire to get more fame and attention for himself is what lasts forever. The pattern is impossible to ignore. Rick Ross's entire rulebook for success depends on him using the famous names and life stories of other people to help himself.
Now,
A guy, I don't think there's a bad guy.
No, yes it is. That Vlad, let's talk about it.
I think Meech is the one that made a mistake.
No.
No? You think 50?
No.
Lil Meech.
No.
Who am I forgetting now?
Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what that would lead to. And if he was a real friend to Meech.
The song about the BMF drug organization had Big Meech believing that Rick Ross was standing by his side like a true brother. But what if that feeling of loyalty was actually just a trick? What if Ross never actually wanted to honor the real Big Meech, but instead wanted to become a version of him in the eyes of the public? When you stop and really think about it, this idea makes a lot of sense. Rick Ross has built his entire music career by using names and life stories that did not originally belong to him. This is all public information. His whole famous personality came from a real person, also named Freeway Rick Ross, who was a famous figure from the streets. The real Rick Ross was in prison while the rapper borrowed his name, his image, and his story to create a brand worth millions of dollars. When the real Rick Ross was released from prison, he confronted the rapper and even took him to court, trying to get back what was rightfully his. The rapper Rick Ross did not back down. Instead, he pushed forward even more, making even more money from the famous character he had built. Then, he did the same thing again with another famous person, Larry Hoover. He used the name of this other well-known man who was also in prison. He mentioned him in his songs, in his interviews, and in his music videos, all while making money and gaining fame from that man's reputation. It was the same plan, just with a different legendary person. Now, with Big Meech, it is starting to look like the exact same thing is happening all over again. It is another famous name being borrowed, and another person's life story being manipulated. It is another man being left in the shadows while Rick Ross stands in the spotlight, shining with a light that he borrowed from someone else. This all paints a very clear picture. For years, Rick Ross has been making a living by using other people's real-life stories. He has been turning other people's real struggles and pain into his own profit. And when everything is over, he is always the only one who walks away with the wins and the money. To be honest, 50 Cent saw this coming a long time ago. He has been saying from the very beginning that Rick Ross never earned people's respect for who he is as a man, but only for his skills as a marketer who sells an image. And of course, people online have been sharing their opinions very openly. One popular comment that spread everywhere said, "Rick Ross is a fraud, period." Another person wrote, "Ross messed up the whole BMF legacy just because he was chasing fame and attention." The public has made their opinion clear, but a bigger question still remains. Is Rick Ross just playing the music industry game, or did he truly leave Big Meech with no support and no help? Was Big Meech wrong to be loyal to Ross, or was he simply outsmarted in a much bigger scam? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next deep dive into a story. You can also check out the next video for more, which is linked on the screen right now. This story is far from over.